Hello and welcome to the RDOS Emergency Operations Center video update for the Crater Creek wildfire, K52125, for Friday, August 18th. And we're recording this at 2 o'clock. And we'll also be discussing the Upper Park Rill Creek wildfire, K52813. My name is Erick Thompson. I'm an information officer with the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. We are coming to you from the traditional territory of the Syilx people in the Okanagan Nation, and the RDOS is committed to working with and learning more about the Indigenous peoples of this region. We're coming to you at a very difficult time for many people where their homes are under threat, and for some people, the loss of homes, and these wildfires continue to rage. And we'll get to some of the details from the regional district, including the total number of evacuation alerts and orders currently in place. We'll hear from a number of people, including some of the elected officials. And beside me here today in the RDOS boardroom, Brittany Seibert, the Manager of Emergency Services with the RDOS, and she'll talk a bit about some other pressing issues regarding these wildfires. But let's get right to our BC wildfire update. And with that today, we have Shaelee Stearns. Shaelee Stearns is an information officer with the BC Wildfire Service. And Shaelee, before we get started, I just wanted to say to you and to all of the crews working on these wildfires, risking their lives literally, thank you so much. And I can't even imagine how difficult it is being on these fire lines. Maybe you can start with that for an update. Is the conditions that wildfire fighters and local fire departments, visiting fire departments are working on are very, very difficult, not only because of the wind, but of course, the high temperatures.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. So as I think was just talked about on our media availability from the BC Wildfire Service with Cliff Chapman, was we are seeing extremely aggressive fire behavior, and that is presenting its own hazard along with the significant heat that crews are working in. So that obviously puts an additional strain on our crews, and it's something they have to continue to monitor and do check-ins with themselves and their crew members on the heat that they're facing and how that's impacting the work that they can do. Besides the impact that it has specifically to our crews, we can also see that impact on the fuels as we're seeing these fires in their rapid growth with the weather conditions that we're seeing with the dry cold front that's coming through. We're seeing that gusty wind that's moving through significant portions of BC. And we're going to continue to see some of those conditions today. So just to start right off the bat, I think it's important just to remind people to be cautious, make sure you have all your information sources lined up and that you can receive that information as things change and as these situations evolve. We're still looking at stronger winds today, slightly cooler temperatures, but the impact of the fire behavior in these conditions is still quite significant. So it's important for people to know. With that, I will go into an update. I'll start with the Crater Creek wildfire, so K52125. So this wildfire located approximately 18 kilometers southwest of Keremeos. So that was the initial ignition point for this wildfire. Since then, the fire has resulted in 22,000 hectares in size for an estimated size that we have on that fire. Looking last night, we did have structure protection personnel that worked on site overnight. And then today we have 8 personnel along with multiple pieces of heavy equipment and aerial resources available as well. Addition to those structure protection that we had last night, we'll continue to see that presence there today as well with structure personnel on site. Additional aircraft will be available as there are achievable objectives that are identified. Visibility with the smoke has definitely been a general theme, and it's something that will continue to be considered with this, as well as when that visibility clears, looking at those achievable objections that our resources can action. So going into a bit of the activity that we're seeing right on the fire. So on the west and southwest flanks of this fire, we are seeing rank 3 fire behavior. And then as we go into the southeast corner, we are starting to see that rank 4 fire behavior picking up in that area. So we are seeing significant fire behavior still, and that's earlier in the day when we're not quite in our peak burning window. So that's where I come back to that point about being cautious and being aware of the activity that we might be seeing later today on some of these fires. And with that, I will go to the Upper Park Rill Creek wildfire update, so K52813. So this wildfire is located approximately 10 kilometers west of Okanagan Falls. It's currently estimated, or the last update I got was 100 hectares in size. With the activity that we are seeing, we could potentially see some growth in that or a change in the number as we get more accurate tracking. Like I mentioned, with the visibility, it does hinder our helicopters and us being able to make that assessment of fires. So as of right now, estimated at 100 hectares in size. Crew resources on this, we have 4 initial attack crews on site, as well as 3 single resources and 3 helicopters assigned, plus heavy equipment. Crews mainly today are focusing on structure protection and triaging and assessing that and setting up where it is necessary. We have also had air tankers and skimmers who have been utilized in the response to this wildfire. Majority of the growth that we're seeing on the upper part Rill Creek is along the southeast flank of the fire. Mostly for activity wise, we're still seeing that rank 3 and 4 behavior. So what we're seeing on other fires as well. This has been an aggressive new start for this fire. We've seen substantial growth upon the discovery of this fire and continue to see that aggressive fire behavior. We are using aggressive initial attack suppression in this fire and doing everything we can against it and its continued growth. So that is definitely a focus. And then just looking at what I have, I think that most of the updates operationally that I have to provide on them. So happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Can you talk just for a moment before we go to questions from the media? I don't see any hands up just at the moment. Can you talk for just a moment, Shaelee, about when you talk about the different ranks, 3, 4, 5, obviously it gets worse, it gets more challenging. We've heard a lot about rank 5 and 6 with the warm air that we have, the low humidity, and then of course the wind. How could you describe a rank 5 or rank 6?
Okay, so I'll touch on a bit of the other ones too, just so people can kind of see a bit of a broader picture of what we might be seeing. So when you see that rank 3, that's when you start to see an organized flame front and fire progression starts to come out in an organized manner. So you might start to see a head of a fire, and we'll start to have a moderate rate of spread with those. And then as you get into rank 4, that's when you start to see highly vigorous surface fires. That's where you start to see that build up through ladder fuels with torching or passive crown fire as well. Getting into rank 5 is when you begin to see extremely vigorous surface fires or those active crown fires. So this is where you start to see that black to copper smoke and an organized crown fire front.
We'll keep an eye on the roads all through the afternoon, Jason.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And once again,
Can you still hear me? Okay, sorry, I thought something cut in there. Sorry,
I
guys.
think we took just a quick moment of CBC radio there. I'm not sure where that came
Okay.
from, but that's okay. No road.
Sorry,
We won't
guys.
be checking the roads just yet.
Okay.
So sorry, continue on. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no worries. So with that rank 5, like I was saying, that organized crown fire front, and this is where you start to see that moderate to long range spotting and independent spot fire growth. So this is where you start to see ember cast and those spot fires that are jumping ahead of the fire. You see that independent growth of those spot fires themselves. So that rank 3 to 5, those are similar to what the pockets that we are seeing on this activity or on these fires, sorry. Rank 6 is when you start to see a blow up or extreme and aggressive fire behavior. So this is when you see a largely organized crown fire front, longer range spotting. There can be aggressive and violent fire behavior within that and a very dominant smoke column that can develop its own weather system that will then start to influence the fire behavior that you're seeing. So in relation to these fires, I haven't seen any reports of rank 6 yet. That just hasn't been passed on to me. When there is a rank 6 fire, and even in rank 5, we don't use initial attack. We don't put crews in front of it. That creates an extremely dangerous situation and poses very significant safety hazards. So when those conditions are being exhibited, that's when we'll utilize parallel or indirect attack methods and take that fire suppression farther away from the head of the fire.
Okay, Shaelee Stearns from BC Wildfire Service, thank you very much. I don't see any questions from the media, so if there are no questions, we'll wrap it up with the BC Wildfire portion of this update. And I know that you have a lot going on right now with multiple fires burning around the province and a lot to get to. So I don't see any questions from the media. I think we'll leave it there. And we got one coming from Penticton Western News. And then after that, after we finish up our Q&A, we'll have an update on the latest numbers, evacuation orders and alerts for the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen. Go ahead, Logan Lockhart. Hi, Logan from the Pacific Western News. Did you have a question for Shaelee Stearns? I see in the chat, can the RDOS pinpoint the cause of the fire? At this point, I would have to say no. And Shaelee, there's no discussion on what caused this latest fire, the Park Rail Creek fire, at this point.
No, I don't have any information on that. We will deploy fire origin and cause to a number of our starts if we can initially confirm a natural cause to it. That doesn't diminish the possibility that it is a natural cause. It's something that is under investigation, I think, with this fire and with both of the ones actually probably that I've spoken to today.
Okay, thank you very much. Final thoughts from the media if there's any other questions. I know Director Tim Roberts is with Electoral Area G, which is the rural area around the village of Keremeos, and he wanted to ask a quick question as well. Go ahead, Director Roberts.
Thank you. Shaelee, again, thank you for all that you're doing. My questions, and I know that you provide local government with your recommendations around alerts and evacuations. With that last conversation that you stated about rank 5 and 6 and the spotting and the crowning that's happening, we have a lot of concerns in regards to the small hamlet of Hedley. The Upper Similkameen Indian Band has its land under alert, which then surrounds the town of Hedley. We have Loomerville that's in Hedley, and then we have a small community that has a lot of people that are quite vulnerable. I'm getting questions from the Hedley Improvement District, the local fire brigade that only has a few people, and concerned citizens about their neighbors who, you know, I'm constantly preaching to people on social media and et cetera about being prepared at all times. This is the fire season, no matter what, you should have your grab to go, et cetera, and be ready and have a plan. But some people are not taking it as serious because yes, they're surrounded by an alert, but they don't have it. And the fire load or fuel load around Hedley with the spotting, and if there's a change, is quite significant. Is there a possibility, or do you look at things like that where you have a community that with this rank fire in and of itself, and because there is no escape out of the area other than the highway in front of it, would that not fit into like an alert? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's definitely something when we're looking at putting alerts or orders in place, we can take into consideration the fuel type, the access type. It is something that definitely becomes a part of the conversation. I want to say I almost think you might be more privy to those conversations than I am, but it's definitely something that we do consider, and a lot of thought goes into that, and we always try to give people as much warning as we can. I just want to make sure I clarify before I go into this. To my knowledge, we have not seen rank 6 on either of these fires that I've talked about. It's been rank 3 to 5, and particularly pockets of 5, so not the full fire exhibiting this behavior. But that is not to say that the activity that we're seeing is not extreme and poses its own threats on its own. When people are put under an alert, it is critical that people are ready to go if that alert changes to an order. When we put these orders in place, it's because there is an immediate threat to human life and safety, and we're trying to get people out of there to prevent any potential harm that could happen. It is very critical that people take these into consideration. Choosing to stay behind or to not be prepared when you're in these situations, and I can't speak directly to them and what the frustration and stress it could cause, but it's very critical for people to be aware of that, and to, if they choose to stay behind, they're not just putting themselves at harm, but also the crews that have to respond and go back into these areas if they do choose to stay behind. And that can be BC wildfire crews, RCMP, or local fire departments.
Shaelee, thank you very much. We're running short on time for you, I know, because you have other commitments. So we'll wrap it up there. And I really do appreciate you taking time to provide updates on these two wildfires. And we will no doubt be talking with you again at some point. Thank you, Shaelee Stearns.
Thank you, Eric.
Shaelee Stearns is an information officer with BC Wildfire Service. I want to go through some of the numbers now for these wildfires before we get to some of our panelists. For the Crater Creek wildfire, the current number of evacuation alerts in place in the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen, 189 properties. And for evacuation orders, we have 19 properties under evacuation order for the Crater Creek wildfire. Let's move now to the Upper Park Rill Creek wildfire. And here is the total number of evacuation orders in place for Electoral Area I, 64, area G, 19, and for area C, 174 properties. And we'll talk a bit more in just a moment about what those electoral areas are, just to give you a better idea. Alerts in place for the Upper Park Rill Creek wildfire. For area I, 22 properties under alert. For area G, 1 property under alert. And for electoral area C, 223 properties under an evacuation alert. Now, our electoral area directors for these areas are with us, and Mark Pendergraft is the chair of the RDOS. He is with electoral area A, which is rural Osoyoos. He's a director there as well as the chair. Rick Knodel is the director for electoral area C, which is rural Oliver. Tim Roberts here in the RDOS boardroom for electoral area G, that's rural Keremeos, Hedley, and Olalla. And Subrina Monteith is on the line. She's the director for electoral area I, Skaha West, Kaleden, and Apex. And we have a few other elected officials on the line as well, and we want to thank them for joining us. Before we talk to our elected officials, I just wanted to get a couple of quick words in from Brittany Seibert. Brittany is the Emergency Services Manager with the RDOS, and there are just a couple of very quick reminders that I know you've all probably heard many times before, but Brittany, we have aircraft in the area that are skimming water from Okanagan Lake, from Skaha Lake that we know of, and we have boat traffic still in the area. Can you talk about why it's so important for people to avoid those areas and allow crews to do the work they need to do?
Yeah, so number one thing for our responders at all times is going to be safety. And so for the aircraft to operate safely on the water, we do need the public and boaters to remain off the water so that they can properly conduct their operations. And this also includes utilizing drones in the area. If there is a drone being utilized in the area, aircraft has to shut down, and that can hinder wildfire operations. So we're asking all of the public to please just give the space that firefighters need to operate safely and be able to do the work that they need to do to protect our communities.
Now, you speak from an area of expertise. Not only are you the Emergency Services Manager, but a former wildfire fighter as well. You've done structural protection. Can you talk for just a moment about the challenges of working in this kind of heat, along with the wind and the humidity?
So the biggest challenge is setting up structure protection takes time, and the more time we have to lead up, the better. As well as right now, just with a big challenging season that we're seeing, resources are stretched thin, and so trying to find the resources to be able to set up structure protection can often be difficult to procure at this time. With that, seeing the fire behavior we're seeing, especially with the wind, the hot and dry conditions, we're just seeing these fires move at such an alarming pace that we cannot keep up at times. So crews are working very diligently to try and get ahead of that fire and to put structure protection up in place. Where we could actually ask residents to help in this endeavor is to start doing some of the last minute fire smart work around their home. So moving the combustibles away from their home, doing some vegetation work around their home, making sure their windows and doors are closed when they leave, getting rid of that doormat that could ignite from an ember. Those things are going to go a long way in helping to protect your home, and also is going to reduce the workload needed for firefighters to do to set up structure protection on your home.
Okay, let's go to some of our elected officials now. Subrina Monteith is the electoral area director for area I, and some unpleasant activity this morning you awoke to with this Park Rill Creek fire. Started sometime early this morning that it was noticed. Can you talk for a moment about what your day's been like?
My morning started this morning with some residents contacting me, just concerned about fire that they were seeing. Neighbors were working together to try to establish what was going on and then work together as a team. Because Twin Lakes does not have a fire department, it really relied on neighbors to work together. So very strong community worked together and tried to keep everybody safe. So that was definitely accomplished. So I appreciate everybody that's been a part of making sure the information got out to those residents, and that everybody's following all the appropriate information and following the regional district for up-to-date information.
Subrina Monteith, thank you very much. And we'll go to the chair of the RDOS quickly. We have Mark Pendergraft. He's standing by, and he is also the area director for Area A. And we've spoken with you before, Mr. Pendergraft. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add.
Well, the only thing I would add is for folks that are on alert, order, or even if they're on none of those situations, to please sign up for Voyant Alert so that when and if there is that need to get out, you can be notified directly to your home phone. It makes things a lot easier for everybody. So it's a good thing to be signed up for.
Thank you, Mark Pendergraft, again, the chair of the RDOS and also director for Electoral Area A. And that's an important reminder to be prepared, even if you're not under an evacuation alert or order. The challenge with people who live in the Willowbrook area and in the Park Rill area, St. Andrews and Twin Lakes, was that they may have found out about this wildfire and an evacuation order in place for their property while they were away, while they were at work. So having a grab-and-go kit in your car and having a plan for your family can really make a big difference. We heard from Director Roberts, and we'll hear from him in just a moment, but I do want to give an opportunity to Director Rick Knodel. He is with Electoral Area C, been quite involved this morning in activities around the Willowbrook area with this wildfire. And as I mentioned earlier, 223 properties on evacuation alert for Electoral Area C and 174 properties under evacuation order. Director Knodel, what would you like to share with us? Oh, he's not there. That's okay. He's busy. I know I spoke to him earlier, and he was right in the thick of things and being involved in the community. And Director Roberts, you've been doing the same, unfortunately, for a few days because it's been a very difficult time in your community. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us?
No, just to reiterate what everyone else is saying, wildfires of a dynamic nature. It changes in the moment. There's no way of knowing which way the wind is going to change. So one moment you could be not in an alert, then you are in alert, or then you're in evacuation. These things can change by the moment. So I think it behooves us not to individually take the responsibility to prepare and plan, to have our grab and go bags. We talked about our emergency kit, have a plan about where would you go if, and then at the same time, as things come up to an alert, being able to register on phone or online for ESS so that you can have a smoother process if and when it is needed. And again, I think it's really important to, again, for all the men and women that are on the fire's edge, the volunteers for ESS, and all those in EOC, all the work and hours that they're putting in, that it's commendable. And we just need to do our best to support each other.
Director Tim Roberts from Electoral Area G, rural Keremeos. If anyone from the media has a question, please don't hesitate to put your hand up. As we wrap up with a few reminders, I'm going to ask our operator, Adam, if he can bring up the RDOS interactive map. This is an important resource if you're trying to find out whether your property is on an evacuation order or alert or none at all. If you go to the interactive map at emergency.rdos.bc.ca, that's emergency.rdos.bc.ca, you'll find this map and you'll see the little magnifying glass icon there on the top right. If you add your address in there, enter your address in there, it will show you whether your property is on alert or order or none of the above, or as you can see on the bottom right, green, which means all clear. So check the website out for that map, but also a complete list of all of the addresses currently under evacuation alert and order. If you have any questions about evacuees or potential structure loss, please call the RDOS Emergency Operations Center at 250-490-4225. A reminder for people who are leaving their property, if you're on evacuation order, please turn off all domestic and agricultural irrigation. This is an important reminder to conserve water. Some people who are on evacuation order may want to leave their sprinklers running. It's not a good idea if the water runs out. That can present many challenges. There is a last-minute FireSmart checklist you can find online through FireSmart BC, and there's a lot of really handy information there about what you should do, as Brittany Seibert mentioned earlier, to be prepared in advance. And it has everything from evacuation tips to quickly addressing some of the issues around your property. You can see there, checking around your home, what should you bring if you're preparing to leave, that kind of thing. We do have a question from the media, and it's about structures that may have been lost at this point. There's a real challenge with talking about structure loss during an incident like this, where properties and areas still remain under evacuation order. From the local government perspective, from the RDOS, the properties that may have been lost have to be verified. That situation has to be verified before the RDOS as a local government can either share it publicly or contact the homeowner. And that's an important step, is making sure the homeowner has correct information. To the best of my knowledge, that work has not been done yet because these areas are remaining under evacuation order. Certainly, if the information is available and the local government's able to put it out, that's certainly something that will happen. But it is very challenging, and I can appreciate the frustration, especially from the media, who would like to know. And we've heard from some homeowners who have said they may have had issues with their property, but until it can be confirmed, it's not something that the RDOS can discuss. The Emergency Reception Center remains open at 199 Ellis Street in Penticton, and that is to provide emergency support services to those in need. If you are on evacuation order or alert, please consider making arrangements to stay with family or friends. And it looks like Logan Lockhart from Penticton Western News has another question, and he's asking if we can confirm that a specific property, what did he say? Confirm the Upper Park Rill Creek wildfire has grown to 200 hectares. That's an issue for BC Wildfire Service. If you go to bcwildfire.ca and click on the fire itself, the latest information that's available once confirmed will be posted on that website as far as the fire activity, fire size, and that kind of thing. A couple more reminders before we wrap up. Residents under evacuation order or alert, but specifically order because you're out of your homes, you can call Emergency Support Services at 250-486-1890. That's for Emergency Support Services. If you are a family member looking for information about a relative, rather than call ESS, please contact the RDOS Emergency Operations Center at 250-490-4225. Animal Lifeline Emergency Response Team is a vital service during these incidents, and they are able to help with larger animals, livestock. 250-809-7152. A couple of final reminders. Please check official sources for information. Facebook, Twitter can be helpful, but can also be unhelpful. So if you are finding information through social media and you want to confirm whether it's true or not, better to go directly to the source. That would be my advice. emergency.rdos.bc.ca. And you can also go to bcwildfire.ca. I want to take a moment to thank everyone involved in this incident and also talk about people who are impacted. We are here in an official capacity and we're talking about stats and figures and information, but it's certainly a difficult time for families and everyone involved with the Emergency Operations Center here at the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen, including staff and all the volunteers connected to this, and of course the elected officials. This is a difficult time and we're thinking about you. If you need help, please don't hesitate to call 250-490-4225. Go to the reception center at 199 Ellis Street in Penticton and make sure you reach out for that support. It's also extremely hot out, and that's another consideration for people, is taking care of themselves. So with that, I think we will wrap it up. Final reminder, the RDOS is in communication with and working with the Upper Similkameen Indian Band, USIB, and the Lower Similkameen Indian Band, LSIB. I'm certainly thinking about those communities as this is a very difficult time. The next planned video update has not been set just yet. We'll really have to see what goes on. We have had some good feedback on the usefulness of these, and certainly if there is an opportunity to do another one, we will. But in the meantime, check the website. We'll have another update through our website and the other social media channels probably coming up. But depending on when you're watching this, it'll be around 4 o'clock Pacific time on August 18th. Thank you very much for watching.